All right. So what was the genesis of this meeting? Was there's a student who posted in one of the discussion boards for a class I'm teaching right now, the Security Plus class, that he said it'd be neat if we could just kind of get together and just talk about some of the current security things that are going on in IT, especially I think right now with the work from home has opened up a whole nother dimension of IT security that, a lot of companies probably were not prepared for, as far as how do we secure. I mean, we always dealt with the bring your own device as a security challenge, but now it's like bring your whole home to our network. And how do we handle that? So um, Lance and Joe will kind of, I'm going to defer to them as the experts. Um, and then I'll add my 2 cents where necessary. And then for the students in the class, Ian and Alan, Vincent, David, um, and who else? It shows. Yeah, no, okay. You guys feel free to interject. This is very informal. There's not a parliamentary procedure going on here. We're just going to interact. Okay. So Lance, tell us a little bit about your company and how you interact with security problems or security challenges.
Well, thanks, Ken, for having me on. And just as Ken and I go back many, many moons in the IT field, and always going back and forth, helping each other and dealing with each other in different matters. And it's kind of cool because we just had I had a last on the 4th, had a pretty big security panel webinar, and some experts from Cisco, Fortinet, and one of our backup companies, Dato, had this exact discussion. I thought it was pretty timely. And COVID for IT has been just kicking butt. All I can say is thank you. I mean, we were 25% above everything last year just because of the workload we had to do bringing people home. And most of it, surprisingly enough, our customers, because we require based on our insurance needs. And everybody must understand, you guys as students, that insurance really runs the show, right? Insurance is the neck of every industry. And like in Big Fat Greek Wedding, where the neck goes, the body goes, or the head goes, right? But so when we think about these things, is that the insurance side of things, the protection side of things, we've tried to build as a managed service provider this kind of built in. The customers that never listened, I actually got letters of apology that we didn't listen to, which is really strange. Hey, I'm sorry that, you guys tell us in our quarterly business reviews that, we need to look at laptops. We need to look at, better firewalls with VPN client protection and different things. And how are we going to do this work from home mandate and everything else? And as we saw that, we were trying to merge people over into laptops. And I don't need a laptop. They're not going home. I heard that from a lot of people. But now it's like, all I want is laptops. And funny thing is, even in the supply chain, in the industry of, there's very few desktops available. Like, you'll find desktops available for CAD people or super high end machines, but standard work business machines, it's all laptops. And both Intel and AMD have stepped up on their processor. Because ironically, at the time in February, March of last year, there was a CPU shortage from Intel, which just destroyed us in reference to getting stuff quickly. But now Intel opened up another facility in Arizona, so they're double booking and they're getting stuff done. But on the security side of things, going back, getting everybody to understand how important security is really the key. And that's where y'all come in reference to understanding security and what security means to you, what it means to people whom you're helping, and then the big picture of security, right? So with ransomware right now, and Bitcoin at what, $37,000 yesterday, some stupid number. I
Yeah.
mean, I had what?
47.
Oh my gosh, is it
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Once Musk said Tesla is buying 1.5 billion, the price just shot up another almost $8,000 yesterday. Wow.
that's. I mean, I remember thinking I should have bought it when I was like 2 or 3.
I know.
I know, and I'm like, yeah. Anyway, I could probably not be in IT right now with the number that I was thinking about buying, but you know, um, so as those things go up, and the sad thing is we had a portion on our panel. We had someone from the private side of the FBI, I guess, if you will. There's private sectors that work with the FBI on security, so we had those guys on our panel as well, and they don't care. They really don't. I'm going to
What
call
do you
the
mean they
FBI.
don't care?
They don't care. They're not going to help you. If anybody gets ransomware, they're not going to help. Their hands are tied. It's more of a um, terrorist kind of feeling that these guys are getting, and FBI doesn't want anything to do with it. There's just too many of them, and if people aren't protecting their networks, they don't care. And even if they are protected, they still don't care. And I was amazed what I heard from these guys, and it's sad to see, but the problem really is IT companies like me. Unfortunately, IT guys like Joe too, because I've been in Joe's shoes. We've all been in Joe's shoes, I think, right, kid? I mean, we know. And the thing is that we collectively aren't doing the job well enough on security. So, Ian, Alan, David, Vincent, this is where you guys come in. When you guys get out with your security, is you have to be the security expert, the security go-to guy, this girl, whomever. I think we're pretty safe. And then just because it's not collectively, we're not doing our jobs when it comes to we'll let them slide. They don't need firewall subscription. In fact, I just wrote an email to one of my customers who didn't want to renew their firewall for this coming year. So I go, great, can you write me on your letterhead that you refuse to renew your firewall? Here's all the things that can happen. I need this in the letter. So when we look at security, it's purely about people don't take it seriously. And this company alone, I wrote a few papers. If you go to my website of trainingnetworks.com, you'll see a few papers out there that I wrote with Dato on the recovery from ransomware from this company twice. And it's crazy, but it's realistically, the ransomware is horrible because people like in small and medium business, we have almost 10 people at Trinity right now, and that's huge from where we were. And we manage and help customers from 10 to about 500 people is where our sweet spot is. And those in that range, people don't think, they're not going to hit us. They don't care about the small guy. Completely opposite. They care about you. Why? Because you don't have you're gonna pay. You
Right.
have to pay to stay alive. Big
Now,
companies can write it off, right? I mean,
now
really.
in our Security Plus studies, it kind of when it talks about ransomware, it says probably the best defense is to have your data backed up. That
Only.
way,
Yeah.
if they say, hey, we have your data hostage, you say, well, go ahead. I've got my data right here. I got a copy of it. Is that still true, or?
100%. That, I mean, I don't care about any ransom paying or anything else. And that's what saved this one company twice. Is we use a product that actually, it's a disaster recovery, not just a data backup.
Oh, wow.
That it actually virtualized. What I did is I clicked it over within a matter of 40 seconds, took that server offline, right? Clicked on this data device, had it virtualizing that same server. Nobody saw any drop in connection. So while I erased the data from the server, remember, ransomware propagates or distributes through share drives. It
Right.
doesn't care about your local machine. It doesn't care about pictures of feet, your cat, your dog, whatever. It doesn't care. It's just going to find all your map drives goes to your servers and just infects. And it's really easy to find the Genesis machine because of that, right? You can see where the infection started, and it goes. What's interesting, it goes alphabetically.
Oh,
So it'll go down your file structure alphabetically. So if you want to screw with them and protect your network more, put like hashtag, like a hashtag, an exclamation point, whatever, in front of your file folders, and put junk in there. Let it sort through those first, so it gives you time. You know, I mean, it gives you time to, once you get alerted that, hey, something's happening, blah blah blah. But the key is, yes, we just shut it down. We re-imaged. They were up within hour and a half versus, I don't know, what now, $47,000 and probably 4 or 5 days, and you may not even get the key. Even if you pay,
right,
it's not guaranteed they're going to unencrypt for you.
right. That you're trusting a thief
Yeah.
to be honorable, and that's pretty dangerous. Yeah.
Mhm. How's it on the inside, Joe, with like inside as a school IT or company IT? How do you see ransom? Well, you're dealing with a lot of BYO Ds too, but how do you see it going on inside?
Yeah, so security is tough. Like I think what you mentioned earlier is very important. That security is only as strong as your weakest point. So if I have like my developers who aren't really encrypting or decrypting their our passwords, for example, when we're transferring data or encrypting our packets, then no matter how much security we have internally, we could then fail at that one point because it's a weak point that can be attacked. That's the hardest part, is get everyone to buy in. And from the business standpoint, from where I sit, security, well, everyone cares about it. No one wants to take the time to do it right because it's all about pushing out the value. No, we got to get this out. We got to get this done. We got to get this done. Customers don't care about it. We got to get, X out or Y out. And so, well, we have to make sure it's secure. We have to make sure, well, it's secure enough. Well, there's never quote unquote secure enough. It's just like you take the minimal route just to push something out quickly so you can get to the next project. You now have a bunch of loose endpoints that are just vulnerable. And we found a lot of those over the years I've been here. A lot of vulnerable points that have been attacked. We even had someone get onto one of our main servers and set up a cryptocurrency farming through one of our servers. So
Wow.
it happens, even APU. And so we found out that it was a security flaw, something that we brought into the house because we hadn't upgraded our software.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything we did on our end, it was just that our software was old. Now they found a loop in that. We didn't so we had to go update our Java packages, get that fixed. It's really hard to stay on top of.
Yeah.
Not only worry about software packs up to date, you have to worry about your best practices, you have to worry about encrypting, you have to worry about in the network side of the house, how do we actually encrypt data between our services, between our locations now that we're remote all over the world now in this case. So it's just
Yeah. Joe,
never ending. Yeah.
Joe, do you guys do like a security audit, or do you do pen testing or anything like that to identify, to help you guys?
So no, we have one head of security. His name is Sean Corman. He's a great guy, but just he's one guy for the entire university. Doesn't work, and he doesn't have a team underneath him. He's literally the guy for security, and all we have in place is setting up security, putting new software in, but not for actual hardware software we have currently in
So
our
the
house.
existing stuff, just
Yeah, it was
trying to
good
get
enough when
looked
we
at.
bought it, but then if it's not upgraded and it's been 3, 4, or 5 years, now there's a bunch of security flaws. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm,
that's what happens, Joe. I mean, I know, Joe, you can concur with this, is when you're a one-man shop, and we can say that, your security team is a one-man shop, right? That, I mean, I know I've been in way over my head in some companies when I was IT manager and directors and different things. And, you get rid of people, you hire people, and it's like, you get on these bins of, hey, let's get the newest software. But the thing is you're not keeping ahead. You're not looking forward enough post this new project you're putting in place. So that's where, again, where all y'all come in, is one of the things in corporate is people are afraid to push back. Yeah, and I wasn't an example. I got fired from a couple jobs because I pushed a little too hard. But hey, you know what? I put my head on that pillow at night knowing that I'm doing the right thing. And
right.
earlier in my day, I was like, guys, you can't work like this. You can't do this. This is how important this is. And this is in Windows NT days. I think I got canned at a place. So it's been a while. But the point being is that it's not just the now, it's not just the yesterday, it's 6 weeks from now, right? It's a month from now. Where's the security gonna be? Where's you gonna be? I read FeedSpot. I don't know if you guys look at FeedSpot. You can put all your FeedSpot's I think it's feedspot.com, and then all my security blogs and stuff go in there. I read about 10 to 20 a day, and I have to stay. I'm not the security guy. I'm the CEO of the company. I got my security guys doing this, but I still have to know this stuff to direct people, right? Everyone in IT should know this stuff, and but like even like with Ken and we're teaching, gosh, a long time ago, VMware or Hyper-V, building and so forth. And we found stuff too on security is bringing those devices completely onto a separate network, right? Not even using, any relational domain names or any security that's even relational on the host, and then segregating that into its own network farm, and then passing through, the VMware networking and so forth into protecting a little, any layer hops, anything you guys can do is going to help this whole big picture. And but on this, from ransomware to, we do pen testing. I have a pen testing expert on staff that we do a ton of it. We also use a company called KnowBefore, that there are kind of testing and remediation to stupid people. Sorry, but there's going to be out there. And what it does is we will, like, monthly, we'll send an email out, looks so good, and we figure out, let's see what sucker's going to click on this one, right? When they click that link, big old red screen, you clicked on a virus, now you have to go to training. The computer locks, they can't work until they go to this KnowBefore training, which immediately comes down with a link, here's the training you need to do. And with that, though, you have to sell the security to the owners, to the presidents of the company, get their buy-in to understand how important this is. And we have a customer that we're working with right now, or prospect we're working with right now, that called in, yeah, I want you guys to take over our email and look at our network. And we start digging, how come? Oh yeah, well, somebody, just sent $20,000 of company money to somebody in Nairobi or wherever the heck it was. And we need to look at, but wait, changing to 365 isn't going to fix that problem. I mean, do you have a firewall in place? No, we don't have a firewall. All our data's here. We're good. You're good. You just gave $20,000 to somebody. My name's Lance Reichenberg. You can write to me, and it's like, I'll take it. But so it's like asking roundabout questions. And I use the sales process of the yes ladder. I don't know if you guys ever heard that in business, but you say, so Lance is your name. Yeah, it's kind of like the lie detector test, right? You answer questions that are known at the beginning to get yes, 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 yes. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, so we're going to get a firewall to protect yourself. And you get them to say yes, and you get them to make them feel stupid. And then they say, oh, I guess we need it. But so we're actually working on getting a firewall in this place after several conversations, because they didn't think they needed it, but yet $20,000, I guess, wasn't a thing to these guys. They're a huge company, and that's probably why. But yet, and the reason why, when they target small companies, they get paid, or they go out of business. 9 out of 10, they go out of business because they can't pay. I wouldn't be able to afford 47 grand cash for Bitcoin.
Yeah, no.
I would just kill the data and hopefully I can work from there.
Yeah, just rebuild and start over.
Yeah. I mean, my insurance I have is like 3 million. So yeah, I could probably do an insurance, but I'll never get insurance again.
Yeah.
So
any of the students, you guys want to interject anything?
Lance, I have a question. How effective is AI now in producing programs for you, like with your IDS and IPS? They have been no help with defending the networks?
They're a layer, truly. I mean, the IPS infrastructure, the AI, or the habit learning of the end users is getting better. But remember, that is just a layer, right? Even with all the layers that, like my house and my home office, here's my home office, and my office is probably competes with some NSA model of protection. But we still get crap in here because it's only layers. I mean, you have this layer. The biggest problem is always the inside. It's 9 out of 10. It's somebody on the inside clicking something. Oh, send $20,000, or it's, somebody opening up a file, or because if you look at these phishing scams, right, the PH phishing scams, right, that if you really read their emails, there's always spelling errors, there's always grammar problems, and it's laughable that some people will click on them. Some are really, really good, but there's always those problems. Now, we train people like that. So I finally, we get people forwarding us the email. So thanks. Now it's in our network, but sending it to our support, which is offsite, our CRM, but and we look at it, we look at the headers. So what you're saying, Alan, is that, does it help? Yes, the IPS is getting a lot better. It's getting smarter. It's also learning the habits of the people inside. Like we use Fortinet firewalls. That's the only thing we support them all. But for our customer base, small, medium business, they're most economical and yet the most protected. And when these guys have an AI side of it that actually builds habitual databases of what people go to. And I'll get sites, hey, Lance, you're going to a website you don't normally go to. And when I was a CTO of a plumbing company back in 2004, this would have helped me, because think about this. If you guys know plumbing, pipes, and all the names for these things, try to build a network that protected from pornography, having a plumbing company. Come on, dude. You got these are part names, cock stops, ball knocks, and all these different things, right? That you have to protect your network. But now the AI is getting better, because you can kind of, once you allow a few things, it learns, okay, this is okay because he looked at this site, or this is okay because he normally does these things. So yeah, Alan, it does help, but it's not 100% protection.
Does the AI, does it need to be trained? That's one of the big parts of this, right? Is whitelisting.
It automatically trains. You don't have to whitelist as much as you used to, that I've found on some of these, and which is good. Now, it doesn't help when you're outside the network, right? When you're working from home, that's where you really got to look at, are we going to do, what type of VPN are we going to use? Are we going to use a client to firewall, which is always the best when it comes to learning and keeping that network the same? But yet, what people don't understand is how your network is set up. If you're on VPN, right, you need to look at building your avenues through all HTTP, all HTTPS traffic. Does it go through your VPN and out your company network,
Right.
or are you letting that go out your home network? We don't. We block it all at home, and we force it through the VPN to come out, so it's protected. If they just use HTTPS or whatever kind of VPN we're using without a client, it forces out that way. So, which takes their home out of it. But then at the same time, it's like, I'm on my home computer, I want to be able to go to lance.com, and I can't. And so it's a give and take. And yes, normally you can still force the AI to learn, but it's getting better towards actually somewhat auto learning, if you will. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Now, are those firewalls and VPN units, they're not just packet filtering anymore. They're 7 layers, all 7 layers.
Oh yeah, no, it's the ones that we use from Fortinet, it checks their home network, it checks the routes of their home network, and if there's not antivirus, if you're not connected to VPN, if there's not a solid connection, if there's something that seems fishy, if there's remediation that needs to take place on that machine, it immediately blocks that connection to the office. You guys can eat it at home, but we're not going to eat it at the office, right?
Right.
So it'll actually auto block, kind of like the way that the Cisco switching, you get Cisco or Brocade, whatever. They all have it now. You can, if there's packet flooding, or there's weird stuff coming on the network, you just shut that port off and moves on, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing at this point, which is cool. But people don't want to spend, because that's all. Fortinet got smart in March, which is interesting. They saw this coming too, as did we, that there's gonna be a work from home flood, right? And the thing is, this isn't going to change. I mean, my dissertation I'm writing has been wrapped more around the human resource side, human people development in organizations, but yet post-pandemic, right? And what does it mean to the workforce, and how are you going to build people in this environment, right? And what I found so far in my research, people aren't going back to the office.
Yeah.
I mean, if you own corporate real estate, sell it. I mean,
Yeah.
truly, I mean, it's going to be a dumping market, because I mean, look at, I mean, a lot of the Silicon Valley dudes up there, from Salesforce, even in Infusionsoft in Arizona, they're not going back to the office.
No. Yeah,
And
Joe
so,
was just telling me that his wife, they just notified her that from now on she'll be working at home. So
Yep. And Salesforce announced that all their employees will now be working from home
yeah,
permanently.
I just read
So,
that
yeah.
yesterday. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, so now, but here's the bigger thing. I'm hoping their IT is on top of it at Salesforce, which kind of, it is what it is with those guys. I've dealt with them before, but you know, the thing is that they now have to understand that either they're going to have to invest in a remote client kind of software as a service, is the way everybody's going, because they like, hey, we don't have to sell this VPN client one time anymore. With COVID, let's make it a software as a service, right? So you're renting this piece of software. So like my clients, they didn't want to pay 10 $12 a month for this extra client per person. So we have to go back and forth with Fortinet or our security company and deal with that. But that's kind of the where it's going. Or if you have 100 people working from home and it's $20, is it worthy to buy a small home firewall for these people instead of the recurring fee?
yeah.
So there's all sorts of infrastructure changes that these guys are going to have to know about. Uncle Sam's going to hate it, because we're all working from home. We get a claim that's our office space.
Yeah.
So even
Yeah.
if you don't have even if you don't have a business, you're still going to be able to write that space off, which is pretty cool. They're going to lock that crap down in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the thing, is they're going to have to realize that I have to buy home furniture, I have to buy a desk, I have to buy a firewall, I have to buy faster internet. That now becomes a unrecoverable business expense. And I don't think anybody's looking forward to this full repercussions of this problem. But
Yeah, we're definitely have to change. In fact, I have a desk behind me right now in pieces because I just bought it because I'm working from home a long time. So I got a sit stand finally.
Yeah.
You actually found one. Yeah, it's
I found
finding desks is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Right. Any student input at this point? Ian, you look like you want to say something.
Yeah, I have a question. So there's like this kind of, I don't know if it's a rumor, but a lot of people say that if you use software that is more obscure, it's more secure. Does that have any truth to it? Like, kind of like Linux, people like to say that Linux is more secure because less people are going to be writing viruses for it because less people use it.
well, if I can answer that, because that's a bone I pick, and for all y'all Apple users, and I know Ken uses Apple, I'm sorry, but and I use an iPhone, and I'm actually anyway, long story short, people thought the same thing about Apple and Macs, right? Oh, the interface and the propriety and everything else is less people are using them. It's more secure because not a lot of people have access to the iOS or to Linux. But remember, what's the dollar figure for the small guy, right? Think about this. Do any Apple device, including phone, do they need antivirus now? I hope that your head's doing this, because they do. And do Linux machines need it? Yes. And in fact, look at Tesla. Tesla's motherboard and Tesla's processing is Linux. They were hacked galore at the beginning, to where they had to do a lot more lockdown, and they're doing a little more proprietary things on their systems. But that was one of my biggest concerns, is when I sat in a Tesla like 3 years ago at the Tesla dealer up in Pasadena, I hit a few codes, got in, used my stuff, and I go, dude, I'm in your system. And they're like, how the hell did you do that? I go, well, that's my problem and yours as well. But the point being, it's things are really easy to do. And so just because they're thinner, they're less used, they're less known about, don't think that someone's not using that same back end to screw with you, right? So I don't know if that's a rumor, Ian. I would think it's a maladvised kind of
Yeah.
discussion, right? It's trying to push people maybe towards Linux. Is it a Linux person? I mean, look at the source, right? But everything's vulnerable. Everybody's going to try to do, because look at what happened to Zoom. I mean, Zoom was getting just nailed in
Yeah.
March, April, and May, to where they had it's passcodes and then encryption keys, and then now the waiting room. I mean, my wife teaches and she's still teaching from home, and she's using Zoom because they want her to use Google Meets, and that was a lot less secure than Zoom was. And not in her class, thank gosh, but in other classes, guys would hop in and start flashing porn to their kids online. I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you people? But
Yeah.
people are doing that kind of stuff. So it's anybody's going to take advantage of something, big or small. And someone's head is so messed up that that's a big thing getting in. Let's show this to like 10 kids. I mean, whatever the case may be. So don't think that, and that's one thing too, is don't take the threat level as minimal just because the surface space is smaller. You know what I mean?
Did you guys see, just like yesterday or the day before that, water treatment plant where
Yeah,
some
Florida.
guy was able to get into it and change the amount of one of the chemicals they put in the water to where it would have been poisonous, deadly.
Yeah.
And from our studies, you guys should know that those are called SCADA networks, right? The supervisory control and data acquisition, where like power plants, water plants, electric grid, lights, traffic lights, that stuff was built standalone, and then they put it on the internet after the fact, never giving a lot of thought to how secure it's going to be. And that's a huge problem, right? The infrastructure problem of that.
Well, look at it too, because most of those units are built on XP, right? Windows XP is still on these local devices from SCADA with the control units, because they're embedded. So that takes away, they're embedded. It may go even with your thought, Ian, because we have embedded XP, are they not vulnerable? Anything's vulnerable, right? I mean, SCADA is an old, AS400 kind of back end, Ken, right? I mean, I don't work with a lot of SCADA, but I remember seeing it when I worked at Edison. I mean, it's crazy.
It's
But
archaic, yeah.
yeah, I mean, and if you're talking, old HPUX language and all this other stuff that's still running this stuff, cancel Christmas, right? Because it's crazy.
Yeah.
So
I went to a 7-Eleven a couple days ago, and you know how they have little ATMs in like 7-Eleven and AM PM and just little mom and pop ATMs, and it had a blue screen on the screen, and it was still running Windows NT. The ATM was. So could you imagine, you put your card in there, I would have zero confidence that transaction was at all secure, let alone that they don't have my ATM number, my PIN number, my account name, all that stuff. That's some scary stuff.
Wow. Hey, that company I just talked to you about that got hit twice, now 3 times ransomware.
Oh, wow.
My boys are rebuilding their whole network. Kind of funny.
Yeah. Ellen, you had a question?
Yeah, I have a question about how do you think like quantum computing will affect like cyber attacks, like password cracking, how it affect like trying to protect against all of that?
Quantum computing is interesting. So I'm not a quantum computing expert, but at its core, when we read binary, we read 1 0 1 0 1 0 1 0, right? It's sequential. Yeah. But with quantum computing, it's all stacked. So the 1 0 on top of it, so it reads much faster, much quicker, much deeper. It will definitely add we'll have to have a new layer of security for quantum computing, as it's even just for brute force attacks, it should be lightning times faster than what we have now. But wow, that's a whole new world that I just personally, security, I'm not ready to tackle.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
nor
know,
am I mean,
Alan,
yeah.
in one of our classes, when the operating system class met face to face, one of the labs I would do is we would take Cain Enable, which is an older password cracking program, and you would set up the password, and if you did a complex password that was long, it would tell you how many years it would take to crack it. And the longer the password, the longer the years. Well, as Joe mentioned, with quantum, the speed is so much greater. The time element, because if you set up your security based on, okay, even a brute force attack would take 1.7 million years to crack, you're probably, like Lance said, you're going to put your head on your pillow saying, okay, I have 1.6999999 million more years to wait. One day went by, they're not going to get in. But with quantum, that goes out the window because the speed is going to, in a lot of use cases, they've shown the encryption, which security's built on CIA, right? The triad of the three pillars: confidentiality, integrity, and accessibility or availability. And the confidentiality is based on encryption, right? You can't see what's being transmitted. And if that goes away, the security is a whole new ballgame at that point.
Yeah. So do you think like passwords are gonna be like at that point kind of useless, and it'll be better just to use like something like biometrics instead?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, multi-factor is, everybody's pushing multi-factor right now, right? With something something you have, something you are, somewhere you are, right? Proximity based. That's our best defense now, but later on, it who knows?
Mhm.
Any
Yeah,
comments on that, Lance?
we
or-
require MFA at APU now. That was just about a year ago we required it. Originally it was like a nice to have, then we said no, because of security we have to require this. And
How
so
are
now
you
it's
able to do that on? Were you able to do that on your legacy applications?
we had to upgrade a lot of our legacy applications and servers to support it. Took a long time, but we had to do it, and it was a mandate. So, and it was worth it. We definitely have a lot more peace of mind. There was definitely pushback from the customers. They don't like it. It's extra step to get into their inbox, extra step to get into Salesforce, extra step to whatever. They just are frustrated, but it's worth it because I know that what the Capitol was stormed a few months ago, that whole thing, or about a month ago. My first thought was, oh my goodness, how many passwords were just got out leaked to the world, because I'm sure everyone has their password on their monitor or written down somewhere. It's just passwords are not secure enough anymore,
Right.
in my opinion, especially as we make them more complex and force people to change them all the time. They're going to write them down more often because they can't remember and keep up with the changes all the time.
If you guys ever go through companies, and I don't say you do this, but just look, don't do. If you lift up any keyboard or look in the person's left or right drawer in their desk, you will find a Post-it note guaranteed with their password, and that password is going to be to their bank account too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they'll use the same one.
yeah, same
for
one.
everything.
And yeah, we require 2FA, and if they don't, they sign a document on their letterhead, because you know what, I'm not going to jail for these guys, and I'm not going to be sued. So and normally I've had one person write me a letter. Because why? Because that puts onus on them that they got to fix something, right? But the 2FA has been good. This is not like it's insecure or anything, because I really don't care. But I use Google Authenticator. I got trolls of friggin' things that I got to get into, right? Every single thing, including Zoom, I have 2FA. My email, every time I get on. Every program I use, every surface I have has 2FA. And the interesting thing is this new 14.5 update that's coming out for iOS is supposed to have recognition with a mask on. And I think that's a joke because it's a whole
How?
facial structure.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So they're going to look at your eyes and your eyes.
Yeah,
I mean,
your earlobe.
Cameras not high enough to do iris scan, so it's just
no,
yeah.
it's just
Those
it's
are
a
green
joke.
eyes. Let them in. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So the security is going to be less, right? So if people say, you do it to the man, just take your mask off and take a picture. But no, I mean, even the Windows Hello and all those different things that I have this guy right here. I don't know if you can see this little my fingerprint reader.
Yeah.
I have these external USB fingerprint because all we use is Lenovo that has it built in anyway. So every one of us, I use my left finger because people are going to know, hey, Lance is right-handed because his watch is on left. Let's cut off his right finger. Haha. Also, now all y'all know, if you want to kill me, take my left hand because I use my left fingers, and I learned that in police work is always watch where the people wear their watch to know what they're going to do, what are they going to reach for, what's their proper hand, their strong hand, all this other stuff. So this is a good way to do it too. I mean, I really wish Windows Home could use your external cameras. To use it would be a much better feature that I've been writing to Microsoft day in and day out, but I have to use fingerprint. I'd love to use both. And right now we're actually upgrading our E license, E3 license in 365 to E5, so we can get all the Azure security sites in our house, right? So that we can do 2FA 100% even logging into our PCs. So that's what we're working on now. We're testing that side of it, and then going to be pushing that downstream to our customers too. They're going to hate it, but hey, it is what it is, dudes.
There's a price to security other than dollars. I mean, the comfort, the casualness
Yeah.
it has to change.
Yeah. Because
That's
they're
the
getting,
hardest.
I mean, with quantum, as you're saying, I don't know much about it. I mean, I've read it, but I mean, if you're 1,000, 10, 100,000 times faster with quantum theory than you were before, that, 100,000 years that Ken was talking about could be a year.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever the case may be. So yeah, there's a whole lot on the security side that yet no one's going to embrace because of price, but yet we have to figure out the ways using our security brains of how we can get around their price fear. But one of the biggest things I've learned in business, and you'll learn this if you take marketing class and everything else, in the absence of value, people squabble about price.
Mm.
Always remember that, because if you're not providing a value, people are going to say, oh, Jose, your security company, it's too dang expensive. Well, is your value lessened? Right. So when you give more, not saying, give it away and, this is a capitalist country, we need to make money. At least it is for now. And then, you need to understand that, you make money and you got to make money. But at the same time, you have to bring value, because value is an exponential monetary factor as well. If you bring value to somebody and realize the value to this is your company's going to be around. That's how you pitch it, right? Value of security is you got to wake up in the morning, go to work. You can put your head on the pillow at night and actually go to sleep. Your ulcers will reduce. Your wife will be happier. Your kids will be happier because dad ain't coming home all cranky, because he's worried about all these things. If you bring value to your businesses, your employers, your customers, whatever the case may be, price is not going to be an option. They'll figure it out to pay for you. And that's like, if you start IT companies, don't go bottom base. Well, I'm going to do it for $20 an hour. You're selling yourself short. I mean, we charge $250 an hour for our IT service outside of agreement. People say it's too expensive. You know what? Okay, it is what it is. If you're an attorney, you can charge 900, right? No one's going to squabble. What's the value? Because they're getting them out of trouble. They're getting them out of a marriage. It's the value they're getting out of it. How can we produce value in security is something that, as another aspect besides just learning security, is how do we transfer that understanding to the people we're going to serve?
Yeah.
So,
I don't disagree with that value. The hardest part for me is selling people on that value until
right,
you do take it to
right.
happen. we haven't been hit before. Why am I going to spend all this money on something that hasn't affected me yet? Keyword yet. And when it hits them, it's like, oh crap. Okay, now I wish I had it. But it's hard to convince businesses to spend money on security when they have other more tangible ways they can put their money forward for technology.
I
That's the hard
mean,
part.
think of say a year ago or a year and a half ago, if your doctor had said, hey, I have a vaccine that probably going to help you over the next 18 months, but it's going to cost you $500 out of pocket. And how many people, I mean, now, granted, the vaccines are free if you can get one. But how many people would have paid the value of $500 for a COVID vaccine a year and a half ago? I mean, it just, you have to look at, what it can prevent. It's huge. Well, we got about 10 minutes left, and I want to, honor our 1 hour time limit. Any Jose or Vince, do you have anything you want to add? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I do actually. I have a question related to Zoom and Google Hangout. Like when it comes to using like for videos, which one is more, I guess, secure than the other? Because I know that with Zoom, because I've seen that with Zooms, kind of like when they're video security, sometimes it can be varied, but sometimes it's like Lance mentioned that there's some moments that someone managed to get into Zoom and kind of with ease. And then I was kind of wondering, like, is Zoom more kind of secure, or is it vice versa with Google Hangout, or?
Yeah, Lance?
Repeat the last half of that for me, would you? I'm sorry. Forgive me.
No worries. My question was pretty much is, why is it Zoom is more susceptible to more logins and more kind of like, yeah, login session as opposed to Google Hangout? Is it because more of the security is more or less strong as opposed to Google Hangout, or is more the opposite?
You know, I would really think that I think Zoom did a great job of branding. I mean, I know I don't use and I won't use Hangouts, right? Because I know my programmers I worked with, guess what? Where do they go to chat? They go there. I don't want those guys in my private stuff. No offense or anything, because anyway, that's just my own thing. But they may be looking for just an alternative to Google, right? Like schools, because they have, they use Google. Like um, my son goes to Woodcrest Christian down in Riverside, and when they first started, they were using Google Classroom, and they still use Google Classroom, but they use Zoom instead of Hangouts. First, I really think they did a great job on branding, but they also did a great job of stepping up and saying, hey, schools, these type of companies get to use it for free, and they can use it longer than 45 minutes because of free version. So I don't know if it was a security thing, because remember, as I mentioned before, is that the security of Zoom was kind of minimal at the beginning. I mean, it's come light years in security from where it used to be, right? And
Yeah.
and I don't think Google reacted that quickly.
Yeah.
I don't know. So
I think like you mentioned in other comments, you have to adapt or die. I mean, if you're not meeting the security, I mean, the last thing a company wants is to be on the 5 o'clock news as, look at the horrendously inappropriate things happening on Zoom meetings in classrooms. I mean, if you're the CFO or CEO or CTO or whoever it is that's running a company and you're responsible for that, no news is good news, right? You don't want to be the one that they're like, yeah, a kindergarten class was, overrun with pornography today. I mean, and then they'll show, what's going on there. So yeah, I don't know, Jose. I think the answer to your question is it depends. I mean, it depends on what you're recording, what your meetings are about. I mean, the how secure does this recording need to be? I mean, we're not talking about anything private or confidential, no PII, no username. I mean, we're just kind of spitballing some ideas and things.
Yeah.
So I would not rate this, like the Security Plus says, you go in and you evaluate your data and you classify it, right? Secret, top secret, whatever. Classified, unclassified. Uh, so you have to look at that too.
Ah, makes sense.
All right. How about you, Vincent? I'm gonna give you a chance too. You're on mute if you're trying to talk. All right, maybe he's not there, but anyway, the last topic, I mean, just for a couple minutes is how does the cloud change all of this? I mean, if our user base, say our file shares, say ransomware, as you mentioned, Lance, they look for local map drives. What if those drives are hosted on AWS or Azure? How does the security, I mean, it's not like you can go in to Microsoft's data center and adjust the settings on their server as quickly as you could if it was on your premise. So how are the cloud providers with, say, an infrastructure as a service classification, how are they handling these kind of things? I mean, I'm sure that's spelled out in the fine print of the contract.
They don't care. They're passing all that onto the client or to the IT company, right? Like Dado, even these good guys do it. And as you know or don't know, Google and Microsoft don't back up your stuff, nor does Azure. They don't care. They don't back it up. In their fine print, you may get a day or two that they can recover. And that's why, again, I use another product that backs up all Gmail, all and on OneDrive side, it does the email, calendars. Like on OneDrive, it does personal folders, corporate folders, calendars, contacts, emails, all separate. So you could actually restore a brick level email if you like, or something. It's pretty cool.
Wow.
That to a client, they just changed the billing structure. It's $10 or something a license to back up all that stuff, and the corporates, because the main URL is done and the corporate is done, that takes their SharePoint servers too and backs them up. So it's actually a pretty big savings, pretty big protection, and we restore from that a lot. Especially when somebody quits, they delete all their mailbox and they go home.
Yeah.
People do it all the time, and
Yeah.
we just restore it and we're there. So
where's that backed up? Is that backed up in their cloud?
it's backed up in a local United States cloud only.
Okay.
Because we have a lot of aerospace and a lot of agencies that we have to use the government cloud, if you will, for 365 and for backups and data and different things. And they have different plan, like Microsoft has a GCC accounts, and all their data center, your mail and data, OneDrive stuff will never leave the continental United States. So that's what that licensing is about, as well as but Gmail will never tell you that. They don't have that kind of, they say they do. I haven't really tested it, but we're a Microsoft shop, and we kind of OneDrive, or we have other places that people put their stuff in. Even gosh, I just lost Dropbox. Dropbox has a really secure system, and you can back up Dropbox from different places too, or you can pay them to have a service to back up as well. But I think again, going back to ransomware, the biggest thing is backup.
Yeah.
is having your data available to say, sayonara, dude, don't care about your Bitcoin. I'm going to fix it on my own. You're off. And that's really how we have to train people, is that has to be available. So
That's huge. I mean, that's one of my, the thing I say in almost every single class is back it up, back it up, back it up. You got to do that. All right, Joe, you have any closing remarks, and then we'll stop the recording.
No, not really. I think we hit some good points. Just security is a lot to the people, a lot for them to get the buy-in, and it's in everything we do, in my opinion. Always to be conscious of what you're doing, from not putting passwords visibly for anybody to find, to not using the same passwords over and over, to setting up firewalls, having virtual connections between our cloud services, so we can pass data back and forth. Now we have cloud services. Yeah, there's a lot to do, and we do backup as well. We have a special program to back up Gmail and all of our data, as well as Salesforce, because Salesforce won't back up our data either. So yeah, it's just additional service costs, and then worrying about your data not being accessible by third-party people you don't want to see it.
Yeah, that's scary.
Good. All right, guys. Thank you for your time.
Hey, Ken, if you guys have any questions, thoughts, concerns, any internships, give them my email address. We're always doing stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to post this video, and I'll put your contact information.
Cool.
If they're interested.
All right.
And go from there.
Awesome.
What kind of interns are you looking for? Security or just general IT?
Both.
Both?
Because general IT is security, right? I mean, I hate to say that, but my guys are all have security background. They didn't, but they now do.
Yeah.
So because as the first zone or first layer, we have to think security, even when it comes to how are we going to remote into this machine, right? Everything's secure. Right. So they have both. So we look for both.
Yeah. And your company, you moved to Ontario, right?
Yeah. But a lot of the stuff, like I have employees in, because we have offices now in Idaho, Utah, Arizona, and Texas. So wow. I have IT guys that are 100% remote. I've met them all because that's how I hire. But yeah, most of them are remote. So you can even do internship remotely. So it's pretty cool.
Oh, that's
kind of what I'm building. Part of my dissertation, kind of the same thing.
Okay.
So,
yeah, I'll definitely include your contact information there.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
And
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Don't forget the midterm is Thursday.
Ooh.
For the final.
Have fun with that.
Week 7.
Have fun. I'm done.
Yeah.
Bye, guys. Take care.
Bye. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.